All right, quick rapid fire. What are you going to miss most about moving away from Disney World? BB-N8.
Something to have to do on the weekends.
Okay, Samuel the Hutt.
Memories.
Aw, the
That's
memories.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. It has been fun.
It has.
Yeah, I'm going to be sad. All right, we'll talk a lot about that and some other things after these ads that were specifically chosen for you because some big corporation thinks it knows what you want better than you know what you want. This is Tatooine Sons.
A chucha, Star Wars, DC, Marvel, every other fandom fans that happen to be listening to this podcast.
Hello Kitty.
You know, if that's your thing, go for it.
Not
All
in this
right.
case.
No. Before we get into today's show, I just want to remind you that Tatooine
Tatooine Sons.
You said kitty, I guess, and that threw me off. Tatooine Sons is a TeePublic store, and you got to check it out. There's lots of cool shirts and mugs and stickers, and I'm sure there's other things. With all your favorite characters from all your favorite pop culture
Tapestries
franchises.
and pillows.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't think we actually have Hello Kitty
Phone
stuff
cases.
No phone. No Hello Kitty.
but phone cases, yes. Of course, my favorite are all the Boba Fett t-shirts and stuff, but that's just me. It's easy to get to. You just got to go and click on the link in the show notes and take a look around. But enough of that. Let's just get this show started.
It's true. All of it.
What is the name of the porg on the Millennium Falcon?
Force is strong in my family.
What do you think his name is? It's a big moment.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Maybe Turbis?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Turbis? Pablo, if you're listening to this live stream, that porg's name is now Turbis. It's a good Star Wars name.
We're not done yet.
These guys recorded an awesome podcast called Tatooine Sons. Everybody was
Third one.
Really?
So which one was that? Olympus was fallen? Has fallen?
Angel.
Angel has fallen? Yeah, which was your favorite of the three?
First one.
Really? I didn't even
Yeah.
watch that. I watched it years ago, but I didn't watch that one. So
Yeah.
anyway. All right. So
What was
yeah.
yours?
Probably the last one. Angel has fallen. Yeah, that was fun. Anyway, enough about that. Welcome to Tatooine Sons, a pop culture podcast. We believe that pop culture is the mythology of this generation and that there is a story. It is written on our souls. And that these myths speak to that story. And that's why we talk about Star Wars and Marvel and DC and Lord of the Rings and not Hello Kitty, because I don't think that one's written on our souls. And a bunch of other things. I am David. I am the dad. I'm joined by... Hi, guys.
Father.
I'm joined
Dad.
by a couple of really cool guys that happen to be my sons. And I'll say this. Friends as well. Samuel the Hutt, what are you talking about today?
It's a real
First of all, how you doing?
mushy
How you doing, Samuel?
I'm good.
Good, yeah. What are
Busy,
you-
but good.
What are you talking about today?
Semi-finale of... I don't even know if that's a word, but I'm going to make it a word.
I don't think it is. I was going to.
I'm making it a word. Of Falcon and Winter Soldier. It happened, and a lot happened.
It's a real shocker. He's
was-
talking about Falcon and Winter Soldier.
It was a
Yeah,
heavy. It was a heavy episode.
it
What
was
about,
really good.
Yeah. What about you, BB-N8? What are you talking about? How are you? First of all,
I'm fine.
Did you have a good day today?
Yeah.
So far. Okay.
So far.
All right. Good. Ready for the weekend?
Yeah.
What are you talking about this week?
I'm talking about Final Crisis and why I love comics.
That's
really
cool.
good.
I'm really excited about your segment.
I'm excited for it too.
So we're going to talk about that. So.
And Dad, do you have anything to talk about this
Not
week?
really. Star Wars is kind of like on complete lockdown. So we're going to talk about why I think the Indiana Jones fifth movie that's getting ready to, it's kind of in pre-production, I think. I think it's going to be a Star Wars movie. We'll talk, I'll explain.
If there's no Star Wars news, we'll make Star Wars.
I will make it up. I mean, you
That
just
is
call
the
me
Mike Zero
That's right. I was going to
approach.
say I am the Mike Zero of this group. So I'll
All
make up the
right.
news. Anyway, so we're moving. I know we've talked about that, but
We're going to keep talking about it because
We're-
we need things to talk about.
we're moving a week early.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
true. That is new.
Yeah,
It is kind of a new
we were originally going to take a bunch of stuff up at the end of next week, and then come back and finish moving out and take the rest of the stuff up. But we just decided let's just make life more complicated, and so let's move everybody at once. Let's take 2 trucks, put 2 car trailers on the back, have a third car drive along with us, and just it'll be like Jed Clampett and the Beverly Hillbillies coming into. I feel like
Hey, we're moving to Alabama.
might as well,
It
right?
makes sense, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So you guys are excited about the move? I'll ask BB-Nate first. Are you excited about the move?
I mean, sure.
You're not really.
Either way, it's fine.
That's cool. Sam, you're excited about
Yeah,
the
I
move?
am very excited. Not only because I'm going to be closer to Savannah, but I'm even excited for my college.
I am too.
More so than UCF by a long shot.
That's awesome. I'm excited about that too. Yesterday was fun.
Yeah.
A little bittersweet.
Yeah, it was a little bit bittersweet. Did you feel that too?
The whole day.
We didn't talk about it at all. So we made our last trip to Hollywood Studios, which is our last trip to Galaxy's Edge before we move. And what's been your favorite part of like just Galaxy's Edge and that type of thing? Is it Rise of Resistance, which we've done 10 times? Which we really are fortunate. We are.
Oh, absolutely. Some people never get to do it.
I know. It's been pretty cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, what's been your favorite part about Galaxy's Edge?
Just kind of the whole immersion aspect to it. They really did a great job of making you feel like you stepped into Star Wars, and the cast members adding to the experience, and the Savi's workshop and the droid builders. I mean, all of it was combined to make such a really cool, felt like authentic to Star Wars experience.
And I think it was even harder yesterday because everybody at Rise of the Resistance was like all in, all the actors and stuff. They were doing a really good job.
They were.
What about you, BB-Nate? What's been your favorite part about Galaxy's Edge?
I mean, we didn't get the full experience as some other people, with the characters walking around and all that stuff. But it was a lot of fun. I think. Yeah, my favorite part was Rise. I really enjoyed that ride. I hope that they start...
When it's not broken down.
Yeah, when it's not broken down. I hope they start doing more of those type of rides. I think that's where their strong point is. So I'm excited to see in the future what's going to happen. So
yeah, I think they are doing that with like Guardians of the Galaxy. I think that's going to feel like that a little bit more. Not to the extent, maybe.
No.
It's going to be Space Mountain, but have a story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be good. So...
Yeah.
Awesome. And tomorrow we're gonna take our Sabbath, right? We're not gonna be working. We're not gonna do podcasting. We're not gonna be packing. Tomorrow we're gonna take the day off, and we have to do that because otherwise Mom would be dead because she works her tail off. We have to, thank God for Sabbath, right? But we're gonna go to the water park and hang out for a little bit, and then head over to the movies.
Yeah.
Did we decide on which one?
Did we? I thought we did.
I think it was Nobody.
Yeah,
some Nobody movie.
Everybody's getting great ratings.
Yeah,
it's
it looks
rated
like it'll
R,
be
but
fun.
it's like rated R for things that I think BB-Nate can handle, not like,
And he doesn't care about me.
Well, you're 20 years old in a
I'm
month.
almost 20.
Yeah, so
That's freaky. I don't like that.
I know it feels a little weird. And you guys have grown up on this show.
Yeah.
I called BB-Nate's phone.
here?
I called BB-Nate's phone the other day, and it was switched over to his voicemail, and it was his, prepubescent,
I think it was like 12
voice, and it was like, I look at Mom. It was on speaker, and I look at Mom, and she's like, "Oh."
And then we have pictures of us at Celebration.
Yeah,
and
behind
stuff.
it.
Well,
yeah.
not right now.
We
They're
packed them.
up.
That's true.
But Nathan, like real short and stuff. Yeah.
So it's been awesome.
Me in braces.
And you're almost 20. Pretty cool. All right, Sam, what are we talking about? Go for it.
All right. Well, it was the episode before the finale.
The semi-finale.
That's not a word.
You made it up.
Okay, fine. It's the semi-finale of The Falcon and Winter Soldier, and there's definitely plenty to unpack. Sam finally got the shield back from John. We saw Isaiah Bradley, and he's definitely not a Captain America fan. And John's just completely lost it at this point.
Oh my gosh.
We'll discuss that all coming up.
Yep.
Be on your guard. There are older and fouler things than orcs in the deep places of the world.
All right, then, keep your secrets. You're coming to us. Is as footsteps and steps and steps.
There are many magic rings in this world, Bilbo Baggins, and none of them should be used lightly.
I think that everybody kind of expected. No, he didn't become to go to the Sokovia Memorial
Right. I mean, it was in the trailers and we hadn't seen it.
What about when Bucky was like, looked like he was? Do you think Bucky was like trying to scare him, or what was that all about?
I think it was more like almost like closure for Bucky. Almost.
Yeah, he was literally marking off a name, and that's what Baron Zemo talks about.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Right.
That was an intense scene.
Yeah, it was.
All right. So this was a pretty intense episode. We finally got a lot of real story development for Sam. It's been a few episodes since we've had anything really developed with his character, so they really made up for that in this episode. He finally got the shield back from Walker, but during that fight, John kind of clipped Sam's wings.
Aw.
Literally. That's terrible.
After Sam learns that the government's taking over that hunt for Carly, he decides to pay Isaiah Bradley a visit. Now that he has his shield, he's got to do something with it. And yeah, Isaiah's the...
Do you think he wanted to like give it to him, or what was that all about?
I never got that. He just needed like almost like direction, like a mentor almost. Like, he was the closest thing to Captain America that he had talked to. Plus, he was African American too. I'm certain that had an impact on him.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so he decides to pay Isaiah a visit, and he learns a lot more about what happened to Bradley. We got a little bit of it in that, second or third episode, but we got some real details.
Threw a spoon into the wall.
Yeah, that was crazy. We learned that him and 299 other African Americans in the military were injected with what they were told was just a tetanus shot, but was really different variations of the super soldier serum.
Did that not feel weird? Yeah. Come on, can we just go there? Can we just go there right now? Or is it okay to say that they're vaccinating millions of people right now? And I'm just kind of like, they came up with that vaccine faster than any other vaccine in history. Right. And they're like, all right, sorry.
Anyway, so yeah, they were all told it was just a tetanus shot, but they were experimenting to see if they could come up with that serum. And then they sent them all out into the war room. We're like, go fight. Just to see if it worked. Eventually, a group of them were caught and put in a POW camp. And I guess Isaiah was in some military facility, and he decided to break out and save those people. He eventually got them and saved all of them, brought them back. But kind of like what Cap did in the first Avenger.
Did you guys pick up on that right away?
I did.
Not right away. Just now, actually. But I mean, it did kind of mirror that. But it didn't really matter because all of those people eventually died anyway because the serum was faulty. And he was imprisoned for 30 years. And during those 30 years, he was experimented on the whole time just to see why that serum worked for him and nobody else. Wow. Yeah. It was really emotional.
Was that heavy for you guys?
It was.
Yeah. And we learned that during the entire time, he had a girl back home, essentially. And she was told he was dead. And she had written him letters for years, and he wasn't allowed to get any of them because he was dead. And eventually a nurse had pity on him, helped him escape, and found that box full of letters and gave it to him. And then we learned that, throughout this conversation, we get the idea that Bradley does not like Captain America. He's like that shield. I don't remember exactly what he said or how he said it, but he was like, "There's no way anybody's going to take a black Captain America seriously, essentially." And he's like, "And any self-respecting black man would never take up that shield and stuff." And some really heavy stuff in relations to that. He's like, Captain America is a white boy with blue eyes and blonde hair and stuff. So that was a really intense discussion. What were your guys' thoughts on that whole thing and the overarching concepts, Nate?
It was a very well done scene. I feel like it shows that Sam is nothing like Isaiah. Isaiah was affected by the serum. He was made more cynical.
That's a good point. I had never thought of that.
It brought out his inner self.
Yeah.
Inner cynic. And it shows that Sam is a good man. A really good man.
Well, Isaiah definitely had the right to be frustrated the way he was. The way he was treated.
He had the right to be angry.
Yeah.
Of course. Every emotion. That's one of the things I wanted to bring up is, when you watch these types of shows, it's important to remember that everybody is coming to these. A well-written character has their own point of view, and you should be able to see where they're coming from. It's that idea of looking at that and saying, okay, if I was in Isaiah's shoes, how would I feel? And they nailed what I think he would feel.
Yeah, it was so messed up.
Yeah. So
he definitely had a right to feel that way.
And then going into, back into the show in itself, can we assume that there are a few other of those 299 that are still alive?
They all died. He said it multiple times.
He said it both scenes we've seen him.
Yeah, I think we can safely assume, and in the comics, all of them
he
died.
only saved a small group of them.
Doesn't matter. The rest of them died.
How does he know?
I think it's safe to assume that that's the case.
Yes.
And the comics mention it that way. Although in the comics, his son inherits some of the abilities and becomes
a young
Captain
Avenger,
America.
right?
Kind of, yeah. He becomes like another Captain America. So they might go somewhere with that. But
Cool.
I think of those 300, he's the only one. So after that discussion, Sam decides to go back home and help his sister fix the boat and lay low while the government, handles the Carly situation and wait until he gets a lead on where she is. While he's there, he finds out that she can't sell the boat, so he calls in favors from everybody in the community that their parents have helped.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And they all come together. They're like, oh, the Wilson family? Absolutely. Anything for you guys, And so the whole community comes together and brings in these parts and stuff and helps fix the boat. And eventually Bucky shows up and he starts, helping. And he actually drops off this suitcase from Wakanda.
Big suitcase.
That we can all safely assume is a new flight suit for Sam. It's not, they didn't even show it.
Are we assuming those are vibranium wings?
Well, if it's from Wakanda, it's got to be vibranium.
Sense.
That's cool, right there.
That's cool.
But he helps build the helps fix the boat and flirt with his sister and stuff in classic Bucky fashion.
Bucky flirts with Sam's sister.
That's what I meant.
Clarify that.
Yeah.
It's not kind of feel weird if Sam was flirting with his own sister. Although no judgment. So,
they're in the South. So.
Oh, jeez. Go to a family reunion to pick up a date. If you are in the South, we're sorry. We're moving to Alabama and we're fine. Both these boys were born in South Alabama, like 20 minutes from the Gulf. You can't get any souther than that.
Yeah. Anyway, when Bucky was flirting with her, it did feel a lot like First Avenger, which was cool. It was cool to see that, like Bucky was back almost in a sense.
Like he was playing his character.
Yeah. Like he was back being Bucky before the Winter Soldier. But later on, Sam and Bucky are in the backyard, basically having a conversation while playing a game of catch with the frisbee or with the shield, like a frisbee, which was cool. They had these workout pads on the trees, so it doesn't mess up the tree.
Mattresses and pillows and all that stuff.
But they're having during this conversation. Sam's talking to Bucky, and Bucky's like, he's almost like, have you really how are you doing? Are you still having those nightmares and stuff? He's like, oh, all the time. It's what helps me know that I'm still here, but it also tells me there's still a part of the Winter Soldier in me too. And Sam's like, you gotta you gotta get over yourself. He's like, you're saying sorry, but you're only saying sorry to make yourself feel better about things. He's like, you need to do favors for these people and stuff. Do y'all think he's gonna go back and talk to that old guy?
They don't set that up.
Killed his son.
Yeah.
From the second episode.
Yeah.
It was the first episode. It was the first.
It was the first episode that we saw that.
Yeah, that's without a doubt what's going to happen.
That's the one that's been hardest for him, I think, is to deal with that one. So he does what Sam's job was and helped, a grieving soldier, essentially. And, he eventually they part ways. And
Have we talked about the fact that that's exactly how Steve grieves the blip or the snap? That he...
Yeah, you mentioned that. Okay. He does exactly what Sam did. In a
Steve
way.
does that. He starts leading one of those support groups. Yeah.
So yeah, they part ways. They're like, we're not coworkers. They did that whole fun conversation, but they eventually, part ways, and we presume Bucky goes to start making things better. Sam then talks to Sarah and decides he has to take up the shield. Otherwise, all that pain, work, and suffering that people like Isaiah went through mean nothing, would be for nothing. He has to do this. So, cue like y'all said, the Rocky style training montage, which, I mean, it was still cool.
It was.
It's such a cliche.
Right.
I mean, it's such a cliche, but it works. It was cool. He's throwing around the shield and stuff. He almost cuts his head off like twice. But eventually it ends and he's, confident with the shield and he's accepted it now. It's part of him. And then he finds out that Carly and the Flag Smashers are planning some major attack on New York with that GRC summit, where they're basically like, this is the culmination of what the GRC is doing. So then he gets ready to take them on. He opens up that briefcase. They still didn't show us what was in it, but
it has to be.
It's a flight suit.
And I hope it's the red, white, and blue.
Why would the
wings.
Wakandans do that though? Like I
don't know. Bucky asked
they're
him.
very earth
I could see Bucky telling him to do it. I could also see them recognizing that Sam needs that nudge,
that image. Yeah,
that he needs somebody. He needs them to say,
I think it was Bucky's choice.
Step up. You know?
Because that could be
Bucky. I mean, he even mentioned the shield and like how it's like a part of, like, that's the only family he's got at this point almost. So he has a connection to those colors for sure. Do you think that Sam is going to take up the mantle of Captain America, or is he going to not necessarily take on a different name, but this name of Captain America at this point has definitely been marred. It's got some negative connotations to it at this point through what John's done and what is associated with it for like Isaiah and things. Do you think he's going to alter what he does with Captain America, or is he going to fully take on that mantle and try and cleanse it in a way?
I think it's a really good question because, we saw in the previous episode that Sam understands Carly's feelings regarding these borders and the Global Repatriation Council and that stuff that's going on, and Sam understands where that's coming from. So you combine that with Isaiah's words regarding his thoughts on America, which is really a challenging conversation that I wish it's not a fit for this podcast, but the reality is
dad moment.
Yeah, this is a bit of a dad moment. We spend so much time yelling and posting 280 character tweets and making rant videos and speaking into the echo box, the echo chamber of social media, where 90% of the people that are reading our posts agree with us, that we fail to understand other people's perspectives. There is no doubt that America's treatment of black people and people of color, people of other races, what's going on with Asian hate right now, and all of this stuff that's happening, is something that tarnishes this country's history.
Absolutely.
And we have to have conversations about that. Absolutely. We have to be open to have those conversations with it. And that's the beauty of shows like this show, because it allowed us for 10 minutes to see a perspective that is uncomfortable, but allows us to try to put ourselves in that position. And that's the beauty of art. That's the beauty of story. It allows us to do that because in a real world setting, we would the tension and everything would be too great to have those conversations. We need to have those conversations, but this allows us to start that. And then you throw in the John Walker literally tainting of that shield, with it. I don't know how they go forward with Sam taking up the shield, taking up the red, white, and blue Captain America Falcon suit, and not call him Captain America. I just don't know how they do it in the first place, how they do it. I'm really curious how this is going to play out.
I agree. Nate, based on why Sam has taken up the shield, because he has at this point, do you think he's going to be the I mean, you kind of touched on this. Do you think he's going to be the Captain America that the world needs at this point.
Yes. I think that they were showing throughout the whole series of what the dark side of Captain America could be. And why Steve made the right decision in the first place of making Sam Captain America. And so I do think he has taken it up, and I do think that he's going to be the Captain America that this world needs, specifically because he understands, first of all, why Carly is doing what she is doing. So he already understands the bad guy's perspective. And so I really do think that he's going to be the Captain America everyone needs. So.
Yeah. And speaking of a Captain America that the world definitely doesn't need, John Walker. Yeah, this episode, it did a lot with his character, setting him up to be really just a straight up bad guy. I mean, it starts off with a really intense fight with Sam and Bucky where it looks like he's going to kill both of them at a couple different points.
It was a really cool fight.
It was cool. He even like shouts, "I am Captain America," you know, further cementing the fact that he is not Captain America.
True.
Eventually, Sam and Bucky overpower him and take the shield in a I don't know if y'all noticed this.
I did, right? I thought of it.
Felt very Infinity War. When they were taking the gauntlet off of Thanos.
Oh, yeah.
It felt a lot like that.
Oh, man.
But they were successful this time.
Yeah, and broke his arm.
Star-Lord didn't mess it up.
Right.
I'm giving Nathan a dirty look because I didn't want to bring in the Star-Lord thing. Yeah. So, all right.
Anyway, so, they take the shield, and in the process, they end up breaking
Let's just say
arm.
this right now. Star-Lord's reaction in that moment was exactly how Star-Lord should react in that moment.
That's true.
So, all right.
And he had reason.
So then, eventually, they beat the crap out of John, and he's brought in front of the military court. I don't know what that's called. And he's dishonorably discharged. And he has no rank or severance or anything. The worst punishment you can get in the military, aside from being thrown in prison. Essentially, they're like, "Yo, you got off lucky with this." So during it, he's interrupting and being like, "Let me explain where I'm coming from." He's like, "I am Captain America."
He kept getting more and more aggressive.
Yeah, he was getting really. They were, telling him what was happening, and he just walks out in the middle of the hearing. And so he's, sitting outside with his wife, and all of a sudden this random chick comes up, some mysterious woman, with a extremely complicated name that she did not help make simpler when she was explaining it. Some Contessa Valentina Allegra de la Fontaine. That is a mouthful.
Contessa Valentina Allegra de la Fontaine.
Yes. Anyway,
Sounds
we
like
all
a
thought
wine
it was going
name.
to be the power broker at first.
No, I didn't.
Well, yeah, Nate. Yeah.
I'm the best.
Yeah. She talks him that taking the serum was one of the best decisions he's ever made, and that it's made him very valuable to some people. We don't know who, but she says that when she calls him, gives him a blank business card. Says that when she calls him, he better pick up. Essentially, Nathan, you alluded to this. I did a little research. This in the comics. This character started off as a major player in S.H.I.E.L.D., and even had a romantic relationship with Nick Fury at one point in the comics, and Steve, which is weird. I mean, this is comics. They're not going to go there with that, but I thought it would be interesting to mention. But eventually became secretly became a member of Hydra and took on the role of Madam Hydra. Which is was
it the same, the Contessa Valentina Allegra de la Fontaine? That's chick. The name of the chick that becomes Madam Hydra or Lady Hydra or whatever?
Madam.
Yes.
Madam
Which
Hydra.
I guess they aren't following the MCU Captain America game because she was in it.
Oh, she was. That's right. Yeah. So she could be Madam Hydra, or they could just decide to bring this character in because she has a cool name.
Oh, they don't do that.
No, I know. Do you guys think that she is Madam Hydra? And who do you think she could be working for at this point?
I do think she's Madam Hydra specifically because if they don't make her Madam Hydra, they'll be making a lot of fans angry because
otherwise she's not a super
she's not important. And she was actually going to be introduced in Black Widow, which she is more of a Black Widow villain than she is Captain America, if you wouldn't believe it. So, but they decided to move it into Falcon and Winter Soldier. I don't know why. I guess they felt like it would fit better. But I do think she is Madam Hydra already.
I thought Hydra was gone.
No, Hydra's never going to be gone.
Okay.
There's always a little. They've cut off so many heads at this point. It has like 32 or something like that.
Only 32. Huh?
Only 32.
Okay.
But I'm excited to see where a character goes. I found it so funny. I'm like, so I guess the MCU Captain America Wii game isn't canon.
But who do you think she's working for at this point?
Hydra, of course. Or herself.
So you think she's
Here's the problem.
leader?
I'm not finding any connection. I'm finding her character existence in this, but I'm not finding her as a connection to Madam Hydra anywhere in the past.
Yeah,
I'm looking on like Marvel database on Fandom and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was right on the bottom. It's
Okay.
definitely on there.
Yeah.
She is 100% becomes Madam Hydra, or her character in the comics.
Okay.
So
All right.
that could be somewhere they go with that. But later on, Walker pays Lamar's family a visit and tells them, gives them the news that Lamar is dead.
And lies through his teeth.
Yeah, lies through his teeth that he killed the man that killed Lamar. Straight up lies about it. And they're all like, well, Lamar would be, happy to know that
He's got justice.
And oh my gosh, you're just like, geez. And you... Yeah, that was that was just a really intense.
Yeah, that was ugly.
Ugly scene. Yeah, and then later on, not really much else happens with this character, but later on in the post-credit scene, we see him making his own shield, air quotes here. Although it doesn't look to be made out of vibranium.
No,
this just might be more for show than anything.
let it go, dude.
Right. Nate, do you think that this was the episode that finally made John the U.S. agent? He has the temper and the lack of governmental control now.
Yeah, I definitely think that they made him the U.S. agent. I think he's going to be a very big part of what's coming in the next episode. I think we're going to have like a 3-party big battle. It would make sense. We have the Flag Smashers, we have Bucky and Sam, and we have John Walker all fighting each other, which would be really cool and totally in MCU fashion. But I think it's exciting to see where his character goes from here. If he is for some reason killed in the next episode, I wouldn't be surprised. But if he is a main
I'm
recurring,
disappointed. I want him to come back.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I want him to come back, and I think he will. But I'm just not sure how he would come back. But I guess we'll see. I'm sure
they did
can
it with
explain it.
Batroc. They could totally do it with his character.
Yeah, but that whole scene, we haven't talked about that much. But so Batroc is brought to Carly by Sharon Carter.
But so is Sharon working for the Flag Smashers, or like helping them? Or,
No, I think she's like,
or is there like
planting
some like
someone.
trackers or something in the gear? I don't know. That was
is
weird.
Sharon confirmed as the power broker now, or what?
It kind of feels like it.
Yeah.
See, I was confused in that because I got the feeling that the Contessa Valentina lady
Allegra de la Fontaine.
de la Fontaine.
It's just fun to
I
say.
feel like I should watch Ratatouille now. I felt like she was. I thought that I didn't understand who that character was. So this lady starts coming in, and it kind of felt like she's the power broker.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I assumed that Sharon had something else to do with it. So then I'm like, the power broker is bringing John to. I was confused.
Yeah. So that's definitely a confusing thing there. But that, it seems like at the beginning of this episode, very, very, very beginning of this episode, John had some like inner turmoil about what he had done. He goes in that warehouse, he's freaking out, and all these things are going through his head. And then he just brushes it off like it's no big deal and says, time to go to work, like what Lamar said. And totally disregarded the fact that he just murdered a man in cold blood.
Yeah, it reveals
business.
It reveals who he really was before the serum, before Captain America, when he's this war hero. The reason that he was this war hero was not because he had good motives and he altruistic. He was an ego driven, give me my awards, mission at all cost type person, and he takes the serum, and that was the thing that triggered it.
So you think he's basically the bad guy. He's irritating.
Yeah. Now, so is the U.S. agent character in the comics? Is he what you guys described earlier? About no governmental control and just that kind of thing. Is that U.S. agent?
Yeah, he's basically like
A free agent?
Yeah, he's like declared dead eventually, and starts working for the power broker.
Okay. Well, that makes me think that we may be getting a shift in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that's not in the comics. And that is, I still wonder if this Contessa is playing the power broker. The things that she said to John about the connections and the things that she's done feels like she was the power broker. And I wouldn't be surprised if we find out that that's who she is.
Yeah. All right. So a lot has happened throughout this series.
So much.
And it's all coming to a close next week.
Which is sad because it's a good show.
It was. I'm more sad about the end of this one than I am WandaVision.
Yeah.
Just being honest. But I've also been following this one a lot closer. So
Yeah, that's true. You have.
looks like it's going to be one heck of an episode, though, with everything that they're lining up. So be sure to tune in to see what happens to Sam and Bucky this coming Friday on Disney Plus. But all that said, Dad, what have you got for us this week?
Well, like I said, there isn't much Star Wars to talk about. It's kind of sad. But anyway, that'll all be changing very soon when the Bad Batch premieres on May the 4th. But for this week, let's look at the other major Lucasfilm franchise that's beginning to, for some reason, look a whole lot like a Star Wars movie. And that's coming up after these ads, specifically chosen for you because Disney has a partnership agreement that says that you won't get to watch the finale of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier unless you pay attention to it. So this is Tatooine Sons.
Hello, Tatooine Sons family.
We love you guys.
Before we get back to the show, I'm going to just take a moment to say thank you very much for listening to this. It's fun talking about all of this, you know, Falcon and Winter Soldier and all that stuff, but even more fun because of all of your amazing feedback telling us how much you enjoy listening to this podcast. It's always awesome reading your comments and reviews. Again, it gives us oxygen and makes us feel better about ourselves.
That's right. It's your comments are our oxygen.
Exactly. If you haven't had a chance to do it yet, we'd love to invite you to give us a review on Apple Podcasts or whichever podcast app you use, except for Spotify.
No, I think Spotify does. I'm trying to figure it out.
Really? Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Anyway.
It helps us learn more about you and what you love about the show and what we should continue doing and bring the entertaining and family-friendly content you are looking for. Thank you so much again. Let's get back to the show.
Wokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
Rebellions are built on hope.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
If you live long enough, you see the same eyes in different people.
I think I saw parts of it.
Well, when I was sitting Ahsoka and Vader...
dog sitting?
Yes, and Ahsoka was on bed rest because she ate a towel. I watched it at that point, and I was... fine if I never saw it.
Yeah, it's you know, it's some people absolutely they love it.
Hey,
they think it's a great film.
Totally random, sorry, but did y'all see that Harrison Ford like biked 1,000 miles like recently?
Well, you know, that's how he's in shape.
I thought this dude was like old and wouldn't be able to like.
He
do
is.
anything.
He's 80.
But this man just biked 1,000 miles.
Yeah, well.
Anyway, sorry.
Let's have some fun. Let's talk about this. So, you know, again, not much Star Wars news this week. And I tried to come up with something like really exciting Star Wars related, and I just couldn't. So, but I did start noticing a bunch of Star Wars names associated with a Lucasfilm franchise film coming out.
A film?
Next year.
Close enough.
So I figured that's about as close Star Wars as you're going to get right now. So Indiana Jones 5, still yet unnamed, is in production. It's actually, do you guys know how long this film has been in
like what, 10
semi-production? Since 2016 is when they announced that they were going to be doing this.
Wow.
The challenge has been they had a director change. We'll talk about that a little bit. Then just production issues with COVID have slowed it down over and over again. But what's really interesting is that you've got all these major cast announcements that have taken place, and coming alongside Harrison Ford, who obviously Han Solo from Star Wars, but also the amazing Indiana Jones himself, the titular character. You used that word a few weeks ago, so I wanted to to use it today because I was impressed by it. Okay. So the titular character in Indiana Jones movies, he's in this, but then they announced a couple others. Was it just this week?
Yeah, it was pretty
Both
recently.
of them this week, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Mads Mikkelsen, who played Galen Erso.
Not to be confused with Lars Mikkelsen, who played Thrawn.
He voiced Thrawn. Lars Mikkelsen, his brother, voiced Thrawn in Star Wars Rebels. Galen Erso Mads Mikkelsen played Galen Erso in Rogue One. With that, we don't know what character he's going to be playing. We don't know anything.
I get bad guy vibes. Big.
He does pretty good. He played
Le Chiffre.
Le Chiffre in Casino Royale. Yeah.
He could definitely be a good Indiana Jones bad guy.
He could.
And as much as we love Phoebe Waller-Bridge's L337 in Solo: A Star Wars Story, we've never really seen Phoebe Waller-Bridge in a major film like this. She's been in this TV series on Amazon. I think it's called Fleabag. That's really popular.
Yeah,
I heard of it.
And she's been in lots of movies. Don't get me wrong with it, but this is probably a pretty big moment for her because you won't be CG and all that kind of stuff.
Won't be wearing a bunch of green screen outfits and a head on
and a Roomba on her head.
Yeah, and a Roomba. Exactly. Do you think that Phoebe Waller-Bridge is playing some type of a love interest of Harrison Ford?
Sidekick who's gonna give him a lot of crap the whole time.
I hope so because her dialogue was really good in L3. I wouldn't want to see her as a sidekick necessarily.
Well, Han's always got like somebody with him, like a female.
Kind of like a Bond girl.
Kind of, but not a love interest this time. Just a young, hot-headed, like annoying person who's just going to make fun of Indy the whole time.
So then you've got the rest of it. And it's interesting, even some of the production team for this
Star Wars.
Feels like Star Wars. You got, of course, originally it was going to be Steven Spielberg, who's directed all of these.
All of the other ones.
The other films. He was going to direct it. He stepped down. He's still going to be executive producing it with George Lucas and Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall, which you guys do know Frank Marshall is married to Kathleen Kennedy.
Yes.
Okay.
I did not, but now I know this thing.
And Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall were associate directors or assistant directors and editors and producers and stuff on all of the that's how Kathleen Kennedy got her start with Steven Spielberg.
Right. Okay.
Indiana Jones.
Raiders of the Lost Ark and Indiana
Jurassic
Jones.
Park, right?
I think so, yeah. All these producers. But then they replaced Steven Spielberg because he wanted to step into the producer role specifically with James Mangold. Now, James Mangold was originally chosen to direct the Boba Fett film. That never happened. Yeah. Sorry, Sam.
It's okay. I'm getting a series.
You're getting a series
at some point.
But I mean, some of the other films that he's done, the two probably most familiar to you guys are Logan, which was pretty dark and didn't really like the way that they handled Professor X in that.
The whole story was kind of
but we really liked Ford v Ferrari.
Fantastic movie.
That was a great movie.
With it, so we'll see on that. And then of course you've got John Williams composing.
Woo! I thought he was retired.
He's coming out to do the last.
Well, he's not doing any more Star Wars. I know that.
So that feels very Star Wars-y.
Yeah, gotta have John Williams, man. Best film composer ever. Changed my mind.
He's brilliant. So that's going to be fun. And then there were some fun casting rumors. One of them, it seems like it's more likely than the other. You got John Rhys Davis, he's got to be one of the hardest working guys in Hollywood. So I was trying to find out if he was in The Hobbit as well as in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I couldn't remember if he played a Hobbit.
He is.
And so I was scrolling through his IMDb film and work, his work resume, and it's like 13 feet long when you're scrolling. I mean, movies, TV, sound, voiceover, video games. He is in everything. You guys remember he plays Mordecai in the One Night with the King Esther story.
Yeah.
He plays that. He's
in all sorts.
He's in everything. With it, he said that he would like to come back.
Yeah,
he played that same character. I can't remember his character's name, but his Indy's friend in both Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade.
Yeah.
Of course,
both great movies.
Wasn't in Temple of Doom, and he wasn't in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls.
Temple of Doom is like a prequel or something.
It is weird how we do that. But anyway, and then then this one makes me laugh because there's a part of me that goes, not going to happen. And then there's something that could happen that would be like, that would be the ultimate Mark Hamill moment and to troll this if he knows that they're going to do this. So Mark Hamill has maybe as just as a joke talked about how he might have a role or he'd like to have a role in this new Indiana Jones movie. And at first you're like, oh, that's just Mark being Mark. But Mark is a master troll.
Oh, yes.
Right. And he likes to do fun things like this where he teases something that makes you think it doesn't make any sense. And then you're like, wait, it could. So here's the situation. If Indiana Jones, based on the year that Indiana Jones was born in the stories, we know what year he was born. If Indiana Jones is playing, if the character of Indiana Jones in this film will be the same age as Harrison Ford is for real right now, then this film would be set in 1977. Star Wars came out in 1977.
Did they wait till he was this old to be able to make it?
No, I don't think so. But wouldn't it be kind of cool if Indy goes to the theater?
Like that's how they open it.
And you see Star Wars on the screen, and they probably don't show Han Solo at all.
No.
Just because that would be really, really weird, take you out of the moment.
It's kind of like how Spider-Man, Peter Parker has seen all the Star Wars movies but doesn't connect.
Exactly. So then you're on there and it's like there's Luke standing on Tatooine with the binary sunset.
And afterwards,
Indy needs to walk out. And then something happens and he has to leave.
Well, no, I hope he finishes the movie. He walks out. He's like, that was the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Dumbest movie I've ever seen. You know, like, would be so.
And maybe he's watching it with Phoebe's character or whatever. She's like, oh, I love
she's like,
that.
it was amazing.
I want to be in that someday or something.
Exactly.
You know?
That would be super fun. So, well, that's just kind of an update on that. It's fun to me to see all of the Star Wars related people involved in that.
It is.
With it. Are you guys excited that they're going to be doing this?
Always.
Or do you think it's time to sort of, can we put this one to bed?
I mean, after Crystal Skull, I'm like, they better either nail this or just put it to rest. Like,
just
stop.
They can nail it if they don't introduce aliens. What was with that?
Keep it with the weird supernatural stuff, not aliens.
Like archaeology, not extraterrestrial. It was so strange.
Well, there's always been a supernatural element to all of the Star Wars or all of the Indiana Jones movies. You've got the Ark of the Covenant,
not
like melting
sci-fi,
faces,
like fantasy more than anything.
I think that's what they were trying to do. They just sort of. They overplayed their hand. Here's what Harrison Ford has said though, because they keep talking. They were asking him about the delays in this film. He's like, "We're not going to start filming it until we get it right." I mean, that's like literally what he said.
Yeah.
So if we need to keep rewriting things, we need to keep changing things, we will. We're not going to start filming this film until we get it right, is what he said. So I think that he was frustrated with the reaction to Crystal Skull as much as a lot of people were. And he knows this is it. He's never going to play Han Solo again.
Right.
You know, I think that The Force Awakens was a solid Han Solo story.
It was, but...
And I think that the last moment in The Rise of Skywalker was good for him. So Han Solo's characterizations were solid. He went out fine with that. He doesn't want to go out.
No.
Probably the only reason he's doing this film is he doesn't want to go out with the last Indiana Jones film being Crystal Skull.
Yeah, that's fair.
With it. So, again, no one is really sure that if Indiana Jones 5 will be released next year or not. It's supposed to be released July 29th, 2022, but COVID. The film seems to have hit one booby trap after another. We'll just have to wait and see. You like
they
that?
really just need to keep the ball rolling.
Yeah. I love that. All right. We do know that Bad Batch is coming very soon. So next week we're going to be sharing basically everything you need to know about it on the show. So what are you talking about this week, BB-N8?
This week I will be taking a deep dive into why I love comics using the character of Batman throughout the Final Crisis series. Just get ready to hear 15 or so minutes of me absolutely geeking out.
Guys, he loves comics. I'm super excited about this. And that's coming after these episodes?
Well, the ads. But
it depends on how long they are. It comes after these ads specifically chosen for you because Warner Brothers won't #restore the Snyderverse. And we all have to suffer because of it. This is Tatooine Sons. Hey guys, what if I told you could become a superhero? What would that be like?
That'd be really cool.
I'd be worried I'd end up like John.
Yeah. We don't have any super soldier serum, but you can become a superhero. Cause right now there are 400 million children, living in extreme poverty around the world. That means that they're living on less than $2 a day. And you can make an impact, on them. You can help provide the things that we take for granted. that they don't have. Things like food and water and medicine and education, a dry place to sleep at night, which blows my mind that they don't even have that. So you could become a superhero for a single child. We call these heroes child champions. And for just $39 a month, you can provide all of this and much more. So real simple. If you think you might want to become a superhero, you might want to change the world one child at a time, then check out the link in the show notes to learn a little bit more.
Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Yeah, I can fly.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
The people in this room, which one is A, wearing a spangly outfit, and B, not of use?
There's only one God, man. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
Batman has no limits.
Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, The Golden Child. It actually came out last year.
And a Batman comic is the worst comic you've ever read.
Yeah, it was just really confusing, and I felt like I was missing a ton of content that apparently I wasn't missing. So it was just really weird.
That's funny. So is this the best comic you've ever read? We're getting ready to talk about?
Yes.
Okay.
The big collected omnibus has the two best comics I've ever read.
Awesome. So, well, I'm excited about it. Let's do it.
Yeah. So we're going to be going through Batman and why his story in this is why I love comics. And I'll be kind of talking through Batman Rip and his story at the end of Final Crisis. So starting with Batman Rip, in this mini series, we have Wayne Manor being taken over by a group called the Black Glove.
Who's the Black Glove?
They're just a ragtag group of criminals that really don't have much to do with anything.
So they're not like a court of owls.
No, their leader is Dr. Hurt. It's pretty cool.
Dr. Hurt. Okay.
Sounds like a WWE wrestler. I am Dr. Hurt.
It felt like it.
I'm here for your checkup.
But Batman is actually in a very healthy relationship at this point, at least Bruce Wayne, and he finally tries to reveal to his girlfriend, Jezebel, that he's Batman. And
he's got a girlfriend named Jezebel?
Yes.
This is getting weirder as we go.
She is a supermodel, and her full name is Jezebel Jet. It is.
He's not dating Catwoman?
No, not at this point.
Okay.
And so she says that she's basically telling him that Batman is nothing more to him than a therapy project for him to cope with the loss of his parents.
Dang.
She keeps saying that, like it's not important. He then goes to his Batcave computer screens and they start absolutely freaking out with static and all this stuff. And there's only one saying on it, and it's Zur-En-Arrh. Eventually he's knocked unconscious by his girlfriend who was working with the Black Glove the whole time. And she said a saying that would trigger him to pass out. That saying is Zur-En-Arrh. We then see Bruce.
So his girlfriend's a bad guy.
His girlfriend is a bad guy.
And he
played the long game.
And he revealed to her that he was. Did she know that before?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
But she was just trying to play the long game. And
she fooled Bruce Wayne. That's impressive.
Bruce knew it all along.
These girls, man, you got to be careful about them.
Yes.
Yeah. Sam, you hear me?
Huh?
We then see Bruce walking around Gotham with a homeless man. I think his name was Honor. Eventually, we find out that man was actually all in his head, and he actually died a few months earlier. And it was just for him to get back on his feet as Batman. He eventually makes a new suit.
So he created a person in his head?
He had a contingency plan. He knew that this Zur-En-Arrh stuff would happen, that he might get an attack on his psychological brain portion and all that stuff. So he made a backup personality for him to be able to get back on his feet as Batman in case it's ever happened.
Stuff, man.
He eventually makes a new suit out of scraps. There's also Batmite that shows up every now and then, which is like a different Earth Batman. It's really weird. He's very difficult to explain in the short amount of time I have. And then he, out of that trash suit, he becomes the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh, his backup personality.
So his back computer screen started saying Zur-En-Arrh.
Yes.
And that was a trigger word for his backup personality?
No, that he just became the Batman of Zrenar because that was established in his brain as a way to knock him unconscious and get him away so that this black glove can take over Gotham. They established it and everything, but he made up a personality in case this ever happened, not even with the black glove, just in general. And Zrenar happened to be that word.
He implanted the Zrenar thing in his head?
Yes.
And that was on the screen in person?
Yeah. Well, only he could see it because Jezebel was already establishing that through their relationship before then.
I'm lost. I'm lost.
I'm confused.
All right. So in the immortal words of the guy on Lego Movie, I think I got it, but just in case I didn't, tell it to me all over again. I wasn't listening.
Bruce Wayne made a personality, a backup
named
personality.
Zrenar.
Yes.
Okay.
Made a backup personality so that in case ever his conscious brain was under attack from an outside source, he would be able to get back on his feet as Batman again.
And that's the homeless guy.
Yes.
Zrenar is the homeless guy.
Zrenar is this backup personality, and Honor was the person in his brain to help him get back on his feet after this happened.
Okay.
Yes.
Why was it on the screen?
He was only able to see it because Jezebel was putting it in his brain throughout the whole relationship. She was teasing him to do the Zrenar thing? Exactly.
So she was this is Moriarty level.
Yes.
Like deception. She's planting Zrenar in her brain to get him to think he's doing it himself, and then triggers, am I right? And then triggers that to kick in in order to put him into this weird space.
Close.
Exactly.
Oh, I thought Batman implanted that in his head, and Jezebel found out about it, and then just used it.
She was getting him to plant it in his own head.
He already had many years before.
See, I'm glad I clarified that.
Many years before, when he was training to become Batman, he found a way to establish a backup personality.
Okay.
Zrenar was a word that the Black Glove came up with to make him unconscious and attack.
So they used his training against him.
Basically. Okay. But he also, his training helped him because
he had the backup personality.
Exactly. All right, getting back to
very Sherlock Holmes Moriarty type.
It is. Yeah. This writer does a lot with detective work for Batman, but he then breaks into Arkham Asylum where the Black Glove has taken over. So basically, all these villains are roaming free. And
because that's just sort of like what happens in every major storyline of Batman.
Of course.
Gotta have some Arkham, right?
Of course.
Well, yeah.
And he takes down goons one by one until he gets to his old girlfriend, who he doesn't really know is a bad guy yet, but he suspects it still. And then when he gets into that room, they fill his room with the knockout drug again. They knock him out and he passes out. But then he wakes up in his original Batman costume, not the patched together suit one. And he's wearing a straitjacket and he's in a coffin being buried alive. And so because he's Batman, he's able to break out of it. And
just because he's Batman.
Of course. He has this awesome monologue. He's like, some things may be impossible and this is really close to it, but it's not impossible for me. It was really cool comic. He eventually breaks out of the coffin and heads back to Arkham to put a stop to all of this because it's gone on for too long and they have to finish up the comic series. He chases the leader of the Black Glove to a rooftop of Arkham, where the leader tries to recruit Batman, but is ultimately unsuccessful. And then there's a conversation which really confused me earlier because he's like, Bruce, I am your father. Kind of, exactly.
Whoa, this is like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Now I'm listening again. All right.
He's like, I am Thomas Wayne. And Bruce is like, what? And he actually is Thomas Wayne. He was a 17th century Thomas Wayne that was disowned by his family because he basically worshipped the devil.
What is he doing on the rooftop of Arkham Asylum?
He's doing this to be able to get back at the Wayne family, first of all.
No.
And because he worshipped that devil, he was given special powers. He had to basically sell his soul, and he's immortal, but he has to do all this stuff.
That's an explanation I needed.
Wait, the Thomas Wayne that gets killed in the alley isn't this Thomas Wayne?
No.
So this is an alternate reality.
No, this is the same reality.
No, it's just somebody with the same name from 400 years ago.
Exactly.
300 years ago.
Well, then it's not his dad. That's
But why do you say I'm your father?
Yeah.
That's how it feels.
Okay.
In the thing. Then
we're over here.
This is my favorite episode we've ever done.
Then the helicopter flies off, but Batman punches through the windshield and they crash in Gotham Harbor. And everyone thinks that Batman is dead, but he really isn't.
Which is hence the name of the comic, Batman the Rip.
Exactly.
There we go.
Later, now we're going to talk about his ultimate sacrifice.
All right, so why do you like that comic so much?
I like it because the detective stuff. That's really interesting.
Very Sherlock Holmes.
Have they done an animated of this yet?
No.
Okay.
Which
They better.
people are really asking for it. I think it would be very good. I like the how it shows that Batman really always has a contingency plan, first of all, and he can never get beaten down to the point where he won't stop fighting. I mean,
keeps going, huh?
He keeps going, and we see that in so many other series. We see it in Nightfall. We see it in.
Okay.
It's just it's really amazing. The writing is fantastic. The art is just absolutely amazing.
So it's very intelligent. The character is intelligent. He's always thinking ahead. He's always got backup plan after contingency plan after his other backup plan.
Exactly.
And even when those all things go wrong, he continues to fight and he won't give up.
Exactly.
I like that. Okay, I'll take that.
I like that.
As a dad, I'll go for it. You can be smart and never give up. I'll take it.
And then later in this Final Crisis story, we see Batman making an anti-life bullet using a gun to finally kill Darkseid, breaking his one rule for the greater good.
Dang. Well, okay. How do you make an anti-life bullet?
So you know how in Zack Snyder's Justice League it's technically on the planet?
It's like an equation.
Exactly. You can kind of put cosmic. It's like a cosmic power. So he kind of forges a bullet using that. It's a really complicated situation, and so it's really weird.
Okay.
And when he meets Darkseid face to face, they have a nice little chat, villain monologue. Batman, responds to that, and then Batman shoots him. But right before Batman shot him, Darkseid used his Omega beams. So they kind of
there's a trade-off.
Yeah, both hit their targets at the exact same time. And then right before the Omega beams hit Batman, he said, "Gotcha." It was really, I kind of fell out of place.
Who said gotcha?
Batman.
Oh.
And Darkseid dies.
Actually said, "Gotcha."
Yeah.
Right.
Darkseid dies, but Bruce dies as well. And then we see this beautiful panel of Superman bringing out Bruce's corpse.
Oh my gosh.
And they're all having this big funeral and are really sad.
So everybody thought he was dead, but he wasn't dead, and he ends up fighting Darkseid.
And then he's not dead again. This is going to be going
I just want to know what an anti-life bullet does exactly and why he had to use that.
Because regular bullets don't do anything to Darkseid, but this bullet penetrated and destroyed him because Darkseid was already weak at this point because he fell through planes of reality at the beginning of the comic from a giant war that he had.
Yeah, how does Darkseid come into this comic? Because they got this black glove thing that's been going on for the last 20 minutes.
It just seems like standard Batman stuff, and then you got
and then all of a sudden Darkseid shows up.
Okay, well, that's the Darkseid stuff is at the very beginning of this comic. Literally, the first panel is this stuff, and you see Darkseid falling through planes of reality after having a battle with some new gods. It's really weird, and he falls through the planes of reality and lands on this Earth. And so he's already weak from that battle. And so he's using his servants, his agents, to do this work to kind of weaken the Justice League so he can wipe out the Justice League, take over this Earth, and then have a bigger army to use against the new gods so he can finally take over the universe. And so we finally see Libra, his main servant for Earth, kind of taking over everybody. The first death in Justice League is Martian Manhunter. He gets stabbed with Libra's spear that's lit on fire and all this stuff.
So he got fired.
Yes.
So explain to me how this
how's that tie into the Batman Rip thing? Yeah.
So the Batman Rip stuff kind of ties more into what the ending has in store, because there are a couple of spin-off comics that happen after Batman Rip called Batman Rip: The Missing Chapter. And so we see literally the final issue in the big 10th anniversary Final Crisis omnibus is what happened to Bruce after he got shot with the Omega beams. This was Darkseid's final contingency plan against this universe. So basically, the Omega beams were a time trap that put Bruce's self back through time, and Bruce didn't know he was Bruce. But he did know that he was a bat something. That's all he knew. So
he had like memory challenges,
kind of. He only remembered that there was something to do with a bat. And so he goes through, like, I think it's 5 or 6 timelines. We go from caveman era to present. And basically, if Bruce isn't found or taken back at that present time by the ending of this time bomb, kind of, then the whole universe and this whole plane of reality will be destroyed.
Let me ask a question to try to clarify something. So the Final Crisis series is a bunch of different comics.
Yes.
And Batman Rip is just one portion of that comic.
Yes.
And so the Batman Rips, or the Darkseid Omega Beams, Anti-Life Bullet, right, is all something that happens in the Batman Rip comic to tie it into the larger story of the Final Crisis?
Not technically, no. That old Batman, the anti-life bullet and stuff happens in the last issue of Final Crisis.
And the Rip thing is one of the time jumps he goes through after he gets hit?
Oh, okay. No. That's before he gets hit.
We need like right now. I'm sure
the
Nathan,
conspiracy guy gif with all the stuff, and
Nathan
he's
feels
moving
like
his
that
hands
right now.
He's like, no, you got to look at this one, and this connects to this, and this connects to this, and then you got to go. No, you're wrong. I got to start all over. All right.
Batman Rip is one of those stories that you were talking about that just happens to be setting up the character of Batman for the Final Crisis series.
It's like the Captain America movie before Avengers.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
And Final Crisis is the Avengers.
Yes.
Final Crisis is the whole MCU phase.
So
1.
is this is this Anti-Life Bullet Omega Beam Death of Batman scene?
The snap.
Is this like a post-credit scene?
No, this is the snap.
No,
in Endgame.
The post-credit scene is that missing chapter where we see Bruce back in the caveman era.
Okay.
Yes. All right. We have more to go through, but this is short.
My head hurts.
Another reason.
What is happening?
Another reason that this was a really great series and why I love comics is how they all connect with lore, even if it's in different series. During Rip, we see a wall that has Barbatos written all over it, literally and figuratively. While it didn't seem like much then, it did 10 years later when we got Dark Knight's Metal. Barbatos was actually the main villain during that. And they didn't even mention Barbatos very much after that wall. So it's really cool seeing how they connect things as well. And then Damian Wayne was also introduced in this series and has become my favorite Robin. But we also see later on in after Rip, but after Final Crisis as well. He eventually becomes Batman in the future in like 2040 something and is actually better than Bruce Wayne for Batman in some ways. And so as an overall wrap up, some people just like the comics for the characters, which is fine. Some like it for the art, which it's fine as well. I like the comics for the story. What I just described to you isn't even the tip of the iceberg.
I could tell because
I'm so lost.
No, I think I get it.
I think
I get it. I think that the Batman Rip is a self-contained story. Correct?
Yes.
And you loved a lot of the things we talked about in that story, and it sounded like a really interesting story, honestly. I think you lost us when all of a sudden we're talking about Darkseid and all that, and didn't understand that was story then connects somehow to this Final Crisis greater storyline and arc.
I feel like Nathan is Morpheus and we're Neo, and he just showed us like the little glimpse of the Matrix, and we're like, what?
Yeah, I can't understand. I can't explain the full story of Rip in Final Crisis.
You just have to experience these comics, is what you're saying.
Yes. I mean, it's an 1,800-page comic book. I can't explain everything that happens.
And it took you like, what, a week to read?
Yes, I'm rereading it right now.
Of course you are.
I love it.
And as I was saying, what I just described to you isn't even the tip of the iceberg when it comes to great comic storytelling. But I thought I should just explain, even though confusing, why I love comics and why they mean so much to me.
It's cool. I love it. I love it. And I love the fact that you are like, you in your brain, when you're telling this story, you were like, you were having so many threads that were trying to get out and you couldn't. And it makes a lot more sense knowing that you were trying to describe an 1,800-page story to us at that time. And that was fun.
It was fun. Yeah, that was fun. I hope you enjoyed and aren't too confused about me just letting out all of this pent-up knowledge, and I didn't even get to let all of it out as much as I did. If you haven't already, I highly recommend reading Final Crisis.
Okay.
So you can understand what's going on.
Are there any prerequisites to Final Crisis, or can you just pick up that 1,800 book and start reading?
Yeah, you can just pick up that 1,800. Okay. If you know who Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, all those characters are, you're good.
That's all right. Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
Anything else?
Yeah, so on some... I don't remember, some investors call for Disney where people weren't allowed to record.
I think they were talking about the Galaxy's Edge Hotel.
I think it was the hotel. Mm-hmm. Some executive had a lightsaber, right? And, was playing around with it and be like, oh yeah, it's fine. But then it closed, like, it looked like a real, like how lightsabers open and close in the movies. And he's like, yes, it's real. And then it ends. And everybody's like, what the heck was that?
And they also filed a patent for this exact thing.
And the people who watched it said it looks just like the movie.
It's like a retractable light source thing.
Yeah, it looks nuts. And it's going to be for the hotel.
That's awesome.
And Marvel's What If, there's some merchandise at a mall that teased the MCU's Guardians of the Multiverse.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Or a poster or something like that.
Guardians of the Multiverse. It looks really cool.
Very interesting. And, the best DCEU movie of all time, Shazam, is getting a sequel.
It is.
It is. Nathan's so pissed off at me right now. Shazam! Fury of the Gods cast Lucy Liu as one of the villains. The daughter of Atlas is what I understand. Did you know that Shazam is actually an acronym for like the powers of Shazam? The wisdom of Solomon, strength of Hercules, something of Atlas.
Speed?
No, I'm not sure. Speed of Mercury's the end.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember them
Zeus.
all.
Then you got Black Bolt over here that has nothing to do with this.
I thought that was interesting. All right. Well, that's good to do it. Thanks for listening, guys, to Tatooine Sons of Pop Culture Podcasts.
Yeah, and I hope you had a good time listening. If it's confusing, but it'd be awesome if you could share this with your friends who maybe know what I'm talking about.
Maybe they could sit there and go like, oh, he's so right. Anyway.
Or he's so wrong.
Yeah.
And of course, this show is only a small part of the Tatooine Sons world. So be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter to get in on all the action. And to stay updated on the latest pop culture news, go to TatooineSons.com.
It's going to be a few weeks before we make those next updates to
We're
the site.
getting there.
Yeah,
we're getting there.
But it's going to be a while. We're moving, so be patient. Don't forget to follow the show on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss our next episode, and drop us a review on whatever podcatcher you're listening to this on right now. Give us a rating, whatever it is. Make sure you join us next week where we're going to share our reactions to the finale of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
And
we're going to give a preview of everything we know about the Bad Batch going into it. And I don't know, Nathan will talk about something, comic books or something. I don't know what.
Try and explain another story to us.
Maybe not. Because I don't know if we're smart enough. I think he got everything he's talking about.
Yeah.
It's us over here trying to figure it out, and our minds are melting. So, all right. Anything else you guys want to say?
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you always.
This party's over.
I like that Wookiee.
Don't get technical with me.